brought in because of this reason only, so that I can bring in different sections, different punishments, more punishments. Karnataka also has an Organized Crime Act, Special Act of 2000. So we try to bring in different provisions based on the facts of the case. But not all cases fit for these things. That is a basic problem. Preventive, of course, not much can be done other than preventive measures under CRPC or this COCA is a higher stage of prevention. So we use those kind of things. Not much can be done. That's why Government of India is resorting to many other things like blocking of SIM cards, blocking of phones. 2.5 lakh SIM cards were blocked, phones were blocked. Suo motu preventive arrests were done. For example, in Jharkhand, 450 people were picked up in just a span of months who were committing these frauds. Properties, more than 100 crores were attached. So they are trying to do something, but it's a very small scale compared to the scale at which it is happening.
So we know that today's generation technology is in fingertips. But do you think the use of AI is a threat in today's society, or is there any law to regularize AI? Or do you think that the use of AI should be limited in certain fields?
Okay, first, AI is very essential. It is very important and very useful. Whoever has used ChatGPT would actually vouch for it. So most of us would want to use it. So I would not say AI is a threat, personally. The way you use AI should be in a responsible manner. So the Government of India had come up with the latest set of rules where it says AI, how it will be used, how it can be used for research. All sorts of guidelines have been given just recently in the month of March. Okay, you can look up. So it is very clearly laid out. But if you personally ask me, AI for research should be segregated. AI for business should be separated. Anything which goes into business as AI should be tested first beforehand in research, regulated, seen what are its drawbacks, what are its problems, thoroughly tested, understood properly, and then let out in the market. Not everyone should have access to AI tools. It should be regulated, but it should not be too tightened, because tightening too much will also control your innovation. So that is also not advisable. So you should have AI, but in a regulated manner, like more for research, more for academics part, where you are tested thoroughly, where you have a control on what you're doing, instead of openly allowing. And that's why even Soros has come up with a watermark at the bottom when you create a video using OpenAI. So people are coming up with various ways and techniques. Again, there are ways of removing those watermarks. If you know AI, there are algorithms where you can have an algorithm creating it and a counter algorithm improving it. So there are many ways of doing this, which is not that easy. AI itself will never be tamed because AI behaves like that. It cannot be tamed.
Sir, so my question is that as we know, a particular region has been created as a hub. So what is the major region that a particular region is only becoming hub? For example, we see that the North India is being targeted more, which is the start point of the crime. What is the reason that only that particular region is being created as a hub for the crime, sir?
You mean to say why people there are doing more crimes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, reason is very simple. Any person who commits a crime, be it a cyber crime or a chain snatching, will have his personal reasons. But if you see a society as a whole, there will be some common reasons. Generally, you see economic disparity, poverty, joblessness, unemployment, such kind of economic reasons which are there. Added to that, the other factors like ease of commission of a crime, okay, fear of law, threat of arrest and conviction. So it's not one reason which will make you commit a crime. It's a factor of reasons and your priorities as a person which you decide how crime happens. You must be having criminology. Okay, whenever you get your criminology subject, there you'll understand why a crime is committed. So there are various theories for commission of crime, but generally what we have observed is these are the common reasons. The ease of commission of crime, the economic disparities, and the ease of finding a prey. All of us, how easily we fall for it. Okay, committing the same crime in an advanced country where people are well aware may not be that easy. So they come up with a different kind of a crime. Not that US is having cybercrime lesser, it is also suffering with the same problem. Okay, so every person will have their own different reasons, but still the reasons are majorly on economics, regional disparities and those kind of things. Yeah.
So follow up to the previous question. Is there any check or balance that can be created from a policy perspective, from the government perspective, with regards to
a privacy policy. So, for example, I was recently going through ChatGPT's privacy policy on OpenAI, and a first glance it clearly states that it completely violates my privacy because it takes away a lot of my personal information.
Yes.
So, can there be a method that you cannot take these details, maybe my Aadhaar details, maybe you get your privacy policy approved by the department before getting it released?
So it is not there right now openly. The problem is with the DPDP Act, Digital Protection of Your Rights. That once implemented, the moment you give consent, how it is to be stored, how consent can be withdrawn, deleted, edited, modified, all those provisions are there in the DPDP Act. Reading that together along with your IT rules in conjunction will allow you to protect your privacy, but not in isolation. That is one aspect. The second thing is, whenever a company wants to start a particular app or something, I list out my privacy policy. As of now, there is no regulation which says you can't do this, you can't do this. But it only says if you do this, you have to follow these procedures. That's all it says. So I can collect your personal information, but I have to store it properly. So there is no regulation on what can be listed, but there is a regulation on how it is to be stored and how it is to be shared, kept, deleted, modified. Yeah.
So one last question. When we talk about matter of public policy, we usually see that the government might, in certain cases, stop certain platforms from revealing public data which is private to an individual. A small example can be given of what is happening to Meta in the High Court of Delhi right now. But at the same time, Meta, if I have to take as an example, is massively funded by these very political parties for their ad campaigns. So isn't it counterproductive to what the government will seek to achieve if the government itself is funding these platforms for their ad campaigns?
It is not the government which is funding, it is the political parties which are funding. Government and political parties are two separate different entities, as you understand. That is first thing. Government also has used WhatsApp. For example, during COVID, they wanted to locate a particular vaccination center. You can send a PIN code in WhatsApp and you would get a reply. Yes, they have used. That doesn't mean that government is the driving force behind WhatsApp. There is a platform which people are on. It's an easy way of communication, like email, for example, like Gmail. So NIC has come up with their own kind of platform now. The whole point, what I'm trying to tell you is, platforms are there where people are communicating. It should not go beyond a particular point, beyond the control, which will hamper the rights of individuals. That is very important. At the same time, the right includes both privacy as well as protection of the right of the other individual. It is not your own right. It is the other person's right also need to be protected. That is where the law enforcement will come into picture. For example, if I have a case of including involving WhatsApp, somebody had sent a obscene message or a photograph over WhatsApp. Now I want that particular information, who has sent, to whom it has been sent, because the right of a victim is violated here. Is it not? But WhatsApp will say the right of the privacy of that person is more important than the right of the victim here. You understood the problem here? So certain platforms have to understand if they have to operate. The whole logic what Government of India is also fighting that case is very simple. If you want to operate in India, you operate with the Indian laws. Indian law will protect all rights, which includes individual rights as well as the victim's rights. But then when I collect, that is where the most important thing is the privacy during investigation. That is why there is a clause in IT Act also. Okay, I think we are done. I've taken lots of time. Thank you so much.
I want to express my gratitude to Mr. Vamshi Krishna, IPS, Deputy Inspector General of Police of Economic Offences, Cybercrimes and Narcotics at CID, Karnataka. His talk on emerging cybercrime threat landscape in India and the law has indeed been an eye-opening and informative session. Thank you, Mr. Vamshi Krishna, for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. We appreciate your dedication to keeping our digital world safe. As we come to the close of this enlightening session, I would like to invite Ms. Ananya V. from First DLLB to join us on the stage for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. It has been such an honor to be a part of this event. On behalf of the organizer, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the chief guest, Mr. Vamshi Krishna, an IPS officer, for enlightening us with their profound insights into the emerging cybercrime threat and landscape in India. and the legal framework addressing these challenges. Now, my humble request for Dr. Gaudappan sir to present a meaningful memento for him as a token of respect.
For the second section, it is a pleasure to invite. It is my pleasure to invite Ms. Ritu Bharat from First BBLLB to the stage to introduce our next esteemed speaker, Mr. K. Venkatesh Murthy, Senior Director, Data Security Council of India.
Good afternoon to one all present here. I am Ritu Bharat, studying in first year BBLLB. It is with great honor and immense pleasure that I am introducing to you a man of exceptional caliber, a stalwart in the field of cybercrime investigation and Department for Digital Forensics, Mr. Venkatesh Murthy K. He is the esteemed Senior Director of Data Council of India. I humbly request Mr. Venkatesh Murthy to take over the session.
Good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to thank IITA Karnataka branch and KLE Law College for giving me this excellent opportunity to interact with you all. So the topic given today is cybersecurity and digital forensics with special emphasis on the artificial intelligence. So now the fundamental question here is artificial intelligence and legal profession. We need to relate this artificial intelligence with your profession. Can AI replace lawyers? That is a fundamental question. We need to think. To get some seriousness about this session, the first question that should come into your mind is, can AI replace lawyers? Okay. Because many of the processes that are there in the courts can be replaced with AI. I don't say that the final verdict given by the honorable judge can be replaced with the artificial intelligence, but many of the processes can be. What I mean to say is AI can aid the legal process. I also agree with you that AI can never replace the lawyers or the judges. Okay. So please keep this in mind. Medical professionals, even they are affected with artificial intelligence. A lot of things are there. We will be discussing in the next week. Need to try this? Yeah, there is a very famous quote by very respected cybersecurity researcher Bruce Neer. He says, "Amateurs hack systems, whereas the professionals hack people." Okay. Let me parallelly use this as a mirror screen. Because things have changed. Criminals have also now become more sophisticated. Next slide. This is a very famous quote by the former director of FBI. There are only two types of companies. Those that have been hacked, the second one is those that will be hacked. This is a more than 13-year-old, 12-year-old statement. Over the years, this particular statement was amended by some security researcher. He said there are only three types of companies. One is those that have been hacked. Second is those that will be hacked. The third category is those companies that are already hacked, but they don't know that they are hacked. Okay, that's the third category. Next. This is to motivate you. Since morning you are sitting here. Meet this Honorable Judge Williams. Okay. He is the judge who dealt the Apple versus Google versus Oracle case, very, very famous case of IPR. Next slide. Okay. This is a very famous case which talked about the IPR theft and all, and the defense advocate tried to act very smart in front of the judge. What happens when you have the conversation between technologies and legal professionals? Technologists, we tend to use a lot of technical jargons. Okay. So the judiciary feels that we are not technically qualified. So I was addressing the group of judicial officers. I told them, what if you start using the legal jargons? Because our law, if you look at our law, there are a lot of Latin and Greek jargons that are used, like amicus curiae. If someone says amicus curiae, me being a techie, I need to Google for it. What is amicus curiae? To know that it's a friend of court. Okay. So in this case, Honorable Judge, he took 3 months off from his work and he started coding, learning how the programming is done. And he dealt with this case and he got a title, Master of Code and Master of Code. Okay, coding also he was conversant and code proceedings also he was conversant. Please bear this in mind. LLB means it's not only law. You need to parallelly sync yourself with technology also. Next. I would like to discuss about one case study which highlights the importance of knowing the cybersecurity incident response. This is a very famous case where the financial institution was targeted. Criminals sitting in some different geography targeted computer servers in India, and they were able to make some changes within the financial system that eliminated the what they call the withdrawal limits, the balance available, all those things. And the damage cost was 25 crore Indian rupees. It was this incident was called Operation Unlimited. Within 10 hours, the 25 crore was siphoned off. Next. During the course of investigation, the investigating officer, while conducting forensic analysis on the affected server, the server which was attacked, he found that crucial artifacts like a crypt.jsp, the JavaScript thing, he was unable to recover. And when he interacted with the complainant company, what all you did, the sequence of actions that they took, once they got to know that their servers were under attack, he was shocked to know that the company, once they got to know that they were compromised, they did a clean installation. Clean installation is secure deletion of the affected server. Secure deletion is you delete the file and overwrite with zeros so that data recovery becomes impossible. Okay, that's the limitation. That's the limitation of data recovery. You can recover the data as long as it is not overwritten. The moment it is overwritten, then no tool on this planet would be able to recover. So there is an absence of the knowledge related to incident response. Once I get breached, what all I should do? So that knowledge was not there. Next. This case is very interesting. I was told by the organizers to have some interactions to deal with some case studies. Although you may assume these case studies, whatever I am discussing, are hypothetical. Okay, since it is getting recorded, you assume these are all hypothetical cases. So this case talks about exculpatory evidence. When it comes to digital forensics, we deal with three kinds of evidence: inculpatory evidence, exculpatory evidence, and tampering evidence. Inculpatory evidence is evidence produced by the prosecution to prove that accused is guilty. Exculpatory evidence, it's like a alibi. Okay, is evidence which can be produced by the accused person to prove that he is not guilty. Okay, so this is an excellent case study. Next. So this case relates to sending obscene email. Police have registered the case and they have search and seizure of the digital evidence was successful. After seizure, they have sent it to FSL. Being a legal from legal background, you are aware that in India, the Indian Evidence Act talks about who can offer opinion related to electronic evidence. Section 45A talks about the expert. If you read Section 45, it gives you a hyperlink to Section 17A of Information Technology Act. Section 17A of IT Act talks about examiner of electronic evidence. So the central government notified forensic laboratory is authorized to give opinion. So the FSL scientific officer has given this opinion. It's a generalized statement. No scientific officer will give such opinion. For the purpose of understanding, I have made it a general statement. The report says after analyzing the seized hard drive, evidence is found to prove that the accused sent the obscene email. FSL persons will never say that accused sent the email. The user of the machine has sent the email. Okay, that is the thing. Next. Let us see what happens in the court of law. Arguments. It's an argument between the defense advocate and the scientific officer who has given this statement. Defense advocate asks the question to scientific officer. Did you recover volatile data from my client's computer? Volatile data is the information that is residing in the RAM. You all are aware that once you switch off the machine, the information residing in the RAM will be lost. Okay. Next. Forensic expert says no. Next. Is there a way to recover the volatile memory from a computer in a forensically sound procedure? He's asking the question to the scientific officer. In this case, the information residing in the RAM is not recovered. Okay. Is there a way to recover? He is indirectly trying to impress or convince the honorable judge sitting there. Next. He says yes. Lot of tools are there, lot of free and open source forensic tools are there, which would allow extraction of information residing in RAM. Next. Why did you not recover and preserve the volatile memory? Next. The FSL scientist says it was lost when the computer was unplugged. Next. Next. Yeah. Who unplugged the computer? The police officer. The police officer, while seizing the computer, he has seen the computer in on condition. He has simply pulled the plug from the wall. Next. Look at this statement. Is it true that more than 1,000 books worth of information can be stored in 1 GB memory space and my client's computer at 4 GB of RAM? It's a technical question. I have 1 GB pen drive. Can I store 1,000 PDFs in it? It is true. Okay. And my client's computer at 4 GB RAM means 4,000 books worth of information is lost at the time of seizure. Next. Next. Is it possible that the evidence of my client's innocence was among those 1,000 books worth of information that got lost? There is something called a sordid defense. Some other dude did it. Whenever you conduct any investigation, suppose I send a threat email to an individual, that individual goes to police station lodges the complaint, they look at the IP header, they identify the IP address, from the service provider they will identify the name of the person who is holding the subscription. Once they come to me, if I am the accused person in that case, I say, the internet connection is in my name. The threat email was sent from my computer, but I have not sent it. I give two reasons. One is Trojan horse defense. Trojan horse defense is my computer was infected with the virus. The virus is auto composed and sent it. I love you, Arun, if you remember, 15 years before. I love you, whoever received an email with a subject line I love you, whoever opened it, it auto-composed an email message to all its contacts. Okay. And the second one is some other dude did it. How do you link man and the machine? The information provided by the internet service provider, it reaches the machine. How do you link man and the machine? So defense advocates, they are becoming they're becoming smart with respect to digital evidence. Okay, compared to prosecution. Okay. So the final statement made by the defense advocate here is, so the police has destroyed the evidence of my client's innocence. There is a theoretical possibility of lost exculpatory evidence. Okay. So the reason why I dealt with this case is, if you visit any court where the digital evidence related proceedings are taking place, you should look at the argument, how the defense advocates are equipping themselves with respect to digital evidence. Next. So preserve everything, but change nothing. This is a new thing. Next. So since the majority or almost everyone here have the legal background, I thought of discussing about what is the current position of digital evidence in India, the standard operating procedures related to. Next. So this is common for traditional evidence also. The onus is on the prosecution to prove that the evidence produced before the court is no more and no less. I have not added anything or I have not deleted anything from the evidence which is produced before the honorable court. Next. So current Supreme Court's view on digital evidence, let us see. Next. Next. Next, please. Next. Yeah. So there is a criminal writ petition before the honorable Supreme Court. Petitioners led by academician Mr. Ram Ramaswamy and 4 others. They filed a criminal writ petition in front of the honorable Apex Court. So their apprehension is, we are all academicians. Whenever there is any case, police barge into the university, they confiscate the laptop and other digital assets. We are worried about the confidentiality. We are worried about our personal information. We are worried about our academic work, whatever academic work, years of work we have done, decades of work we have done, and what is the guarantee of the confidentiality? Although the case being investigated is of different nature, but my laptop, which was seized by the police, it also contains the my academic work. Okay, this is the thing. Next. Their prayer. This is a direct copy paste from the petition. First one is, as far as possible, prior permission or order from the judicial magistrate is a must, which is fair. Second, in case the seizure is urgent and the reasons for not obtaining the permission should be documented, it's fair. Third, fourth one is very important. This is a prayer by the petitioners before the court. The owner of the device should not be compelled to reveal his passwords, and in case of biometric encryption, he should not be forced to unlock the device. So, whenever police sees a device, be it an Apple phone or your Android device with a biometric encryption or a laptop, my laptop has the biometric encryption. It also has the password. So the investigating agency should not compel the user of the device to reveal the password. This is the prayer. Next. At the time of seizure, hash value should be recorded. Copy of the hard drive should be taken and not the original. See, these are all legal. See, from a user point of view, it is my convenience. It's my convenience. My laptop has a personal folder which contains my personal information, my family trips, my photographs, my investments, all those things. So from a user point, I'm worried about my privacy. Okay. So from a legal point of view, imagine a situation where the laptop is seized, laptop is protected with a biometric encryption, and the petitioner's prayer is the user of the device should not be compelled to reveal the password. Okay. And in this case, the point number 5, he says the copy should be taken and original should be with the device owner. The device owner can be an accused person, he can be a complainant, he can be anyone. Okay. After seizure, the hard disk should be examined in the presence of a person whose device it is or from whom it was taken, as also a neutral computer professional. If you look at the turnaround time of our forensic science laboratories in India, you all are aware that who can give opinion? We just discussed initially. It is the central government notified laboratories only. Your private institution, private laboratories, they cannot offer opinion in our criminal matters. Okay. So the turnaround time is minimum 10 months. And it's not only India, it's not only Bangalore. For academic interest, if you refer to the research carried out by the North Texas University, the research paper title is Improving the Criminal Justice Delivery System Laboratories for Speedier Trial. If you read that, there also the turnaround time is around 12 months, even though FBI has the series of laboratories in their regional laboratories in many of the cities. So the turnaround time is again 10 months only. And yeah, no problem. Yeah. So the first victory for the petitioner was that the petition was accepted by the Honorable Supreme Court. Next. And it calls for the reply from the Ministry of Home Affairs. So Ministry of Home Affairs submits the affidavit stating that where there is use, there is misuse. Next. Supreme Court not happy with the generic response by the Ministry of Home Affairs. They say that we are not satisfied with the counter affidavit and we seek a new and proper response because the response given by the MHA was very generic. Next. Next, please. Next, please. Okay. So further delay not tolerated by the Honorable Court. 25,000 cost was imposed on the MHA for the delay in giving the response. Next. This is order copy. Next. So then policy on seizure of electronic devices after consultation with the state. Central government submits the affidavit and this process has now started. The MHA as this I4C, Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, I4C is dealing with this issue and they have called for the experts from all the state police and they are in the process. So now courts will dictate how the digital evidence should be gathered. This is the crux of the entire narration of this case. So imagine your position. The legal professionals will now dictate how the technology should be used. At the time of seizure, how the hash value should be obtained. Post-seizure, how the analysis need to be done. So please understand the seriousness of the topic. Understand the seriousness of your profession. Once you become the member of the criminal justice delivery system, please understand the importance. Next. Madras High Court, while dealing with the murder case, the judge observed and asked the forensic expert who was giving opinion in the court, do you follow any standard operating procedures? He said, no, sir, we don't follow any standard operating procedure. Our seniors have created some document, we just follow it. So then the Madras High Court has asked the Tamil Nadu government to come up with the SOP for seizure of digital devices. Next. Next, please. Supreme Court's view on the CBI manual. The world has changed and the CBI must also change. Justice A. Zoka says, CBI manual I've seen it needs a lot of updating. Okay, next. Next. So let's skip this. Yeah. So this is something very interesting and important. Because what happens when we say standard operating procedure, SOPs, Karnataka would follow or create a different SOP. Hyderabad police, they follow different SOP. Delhi police, they follow different SOP. Instead, we should build our standard operating procedures for dealing with digital evidence based on something which is universally accepted. ISO 27037, the second column, if you look at the second column, ISO 27037, it talks about guidelines for identification, collection, acquisition, and preservation of digital evidence. Okay. Once when we say we, the technologists, the legal professionals, they are well versed with the ISO standard 27037. I think it will be very easy for you to present your case involving the digital evidence and also deal with the case. If you become a judge, you have to deal with that particular evidence. Next. Now before even the criminal justice system is able to appreciate the digital forensics, there is advocacy on privacy and digital forensics. How do we preserve privacy while conducting digital forensic examination? So there are two things that are very important here. One is the reasonable expectation of privacy while conducting digital forensic examination. Second thing is focused queries. You limit your queries when you are dealing with, say, I'm involved in some crime and my mobile phone is seized by the police. Can we expect the police to limit the queries related to the crime I'm involved? Next. So privacy enhancing framework expectations should not perform significant number of additional tasks that would invade the privacy of the person. While dealing with you might have seen in many cases the data get leaks out from the lab and it reaches the media houses. Okay. You've seen in many cases, in many celebrity cases, their private conversations, all those things get leaked. Okay. You should be aware about the protection that Indian laws have already given. Section 72 of IT Act talks about breach of confidentiality and privacy. The Information Technology Act 2000 has a provision 72 where it clearly mentions that any officer who has powers under this act and he has gained access to electronic records, if he discloses the records to third party, then the officer is liable. So if I'm investigating officer, if I'm dealing with the seized device, if I disclose it, then I'm liable. Fine as well as imprisonment is there. Limited data related to parties who are not under investigation, record accidental or intentional access to private data. Next, please. Now, the issue here is, can courts give warrant to inspect only a certain portion of the address? Since you're dealing with a fraud case, you only investigate on the MS Excel, the accounting related artifacts only. Can court do that? It is not possible because most of the time what happens, you would never know where the information is residing. Okay. I change the extension. I have a file, secret.docx. I change the extension, docx, I replace it with BMP or JPG. The moment I change it, the icon itself will change. And if you double click on it, it says the file is corrupted. That's a simple way of hiding the file. Okay. You cannot do that. Okay. You need to use the digital forensic tool which would identify the files based on the file signature, not on the file name. Every file has a file signature. Okay. Next, please. So now when we talk about AI in cybersecurity, you need to understand AI for ensuring cybersecurity. Second thing is cybersecurity for AI. How do you protect AI? You have created AI models. Okay. You are good in leveraging the artificial intelligence in improving the cybersecurity. But there is something called as adversarial learning. Okay. Same thing applies to digital forensics. AI for digital forensics. Digital forensics for AI. If something goes wrong with the AI model, you need to apply digital forensics. Next, please. So before we begin, some basics. What is artificial intelligence? Non-biological systems that can perform tasks which normally require human intelligence. That is the general definition of artificial intelligence. Machine learning, techniques that enable computer systems to learn from data to make predictions. It's only a data. When IRCTC introduced Ask Disha, the chatbot, the lady who appears in the right bottom corner, initially when you make a typo error, PMR instead of PNR, you type PMR. It used to give output that I'm sorry, I'm unable to understand. Okay, and over the period, if you type PMR, it was able to understand that it is PNR. Okay, because that is the learning. You feed in the data, it learns itself. Okay, adversarial machine learning, the ability to hack the machine learning algorithms through a range of methods so that you will be able to make the machine learning model to act in a different way. And AI and ML security. Next, please. So now let me talk about AI for security, how artificial intelligence can be used to leverage cybersecurity. How do I enhance my cybersecurity operations in my organization by leveraging artificial intelligence? And the client for artificial intelligence, you take banks. Majority of the banks have employed artificial intelligence for fraud management. Fraud management, it is very easy for the banks to detect any fraud thanks to artificial intelligence. And our banking process is robust in the world, I can say. Okay. Don't be under impression that Indian banking system is not secure. Okay. Even today, majority of the retail markets in the US. Last February, I was in San Francisco. I forgot the PIN of the card which was issued to me, the dollars card, what you call. And the Walmart lady, she said, what happened? I told her, ma'am, I'm unable to recollect my PIN because that was a new card. She said, don't worry, you cancel the transaction. Now, the next transaction, she told me to swipe the card again, swipe, not insertion. The magnetic strip is still there in the US, whereas our ATMs don't accept the magnetic strip. Okay, we are EMG, the chip-based cards transition has already taken place. So then that lady swiped the card, and she last time when I pressed on debit card, this time she pressed it on credit card. So it didn't ask for the password, and I was able to do the transaction. Okay. So AI for security, if you look at the slide, you can see you can use it for monitoring. You can use it for automation. Automation, especially in ransomware cases, the automation plays a very significant role. Threat intelligence. The threat hunting, we have threat hunting team in almost all the companies, even the financial institutions, they have a threat intelligence team who does the threat hunting, who collect the IOCs. What is IOC? Indicators of compromise. Okay, how do we act whenever there is an attack? Once the attack is there, like during COVID, the characteristics, the features of the COVID infection was very well documented. Similarly, whenever a new virus comes, today Katrina virus comes, some crazy virus developer has given the name Katrina. So once you get exactly this virus functions, and you will release something called as indicators of compromise. It can be a hash value of that thing, it can be name, it can be the action. Okay, that's the difference. So like this is malware protection, you can protect your assets by using artificial intelligence. And finally, the fraud management, which I discussed, the patterns, signals, behaviors, all those things can be very useful for security. Next. So there is a website dedicated for AI misadventures. Okay. So if you look at the thing, you are finding the incident number 675. 675. So there are 675 incidents, misadventure incidents that are already recorded. The website title is incidentdatabase.ai is the website. If you visit this website, you will find the misadventures which would include the car crash, all those things, whatever the artificial intelligence misadventures. Next. Let's try to understand the AI and ML capabilities, what all it can offer before we discuss about the bad about the artificial intelligence. One is forecasting. The credit scoring, majority of the banks use artificial intelligence for your, if you log into your bank account, earlier 2005, 2006, there was only, it was used like a passbook, it was a replacement of the passbook. But today, if you log into your bank, there is something called as 3 seconds loan dispersal. 3 seconds, literally. You click on it, okay, you get an OTP. Once you enter the OTP, within 3 seconds, the documentation is done. The documentation, the loan agreement is done within 3 seconds, and the funds are disbursed to your account. Okay, 3 seconds, 3 seconds dispersal. Okay, economic and financial variables forecasting, natural language processing, the NLPs are literally ruling the world. Chatbots, contract reviewing, report generation, image recognition, image it can recognize and it can also generate also. The synthetic data generation, anomaly detection, which is very useful for monitoring purpose. Next. Risks related to artificial intelligence. There are a lot of case studies for the voice generation. If you look at Microsoft AI tool called Val.e, okay, it will help you to create a replica of your voice. Okay, although there are positive sides, like 3 years before there was a very famous Karnataka movie star who expired because of cardiac arrest. Okay. There was one movie which was complete, the shooting was complete. Puneet Rajkumar was a film star from Karnataka. Yeah. Okay. So his movie was not completed, but his movie shooting was completed, but voice dubbing was not there. So initially they took help of his brother to dub the movie. The reception was not good by the audience. So then Hyderabad-based company approached the movie producers. They said, you give a sample, 1 minute sample or 2 minute sample of his voice and give us a script. We will create an algorithm which will convert the text into speech. And for a casual observer like me, the voice is 100% Puneet Rajkumar. So this is the positive use. And there are some cases pending also before the US courts where the AI was used to bring back that old veteran actor to his early 25. And when the prize was given to him for acting, the other actors disputed. It's not him actually who has acted. Okay, the facial expression, everything, it is artificial, it is synthetic. Okay, next please. Next, let me quickly go. So AI against AI is something we need to be cautious. Adversarial input. Next. AI-powered malware. The virus, earlier, viruses required a command and control, C2. Once I infect your computer, I will control. So now the malware is able to take the decision. That is a new precision. There is one very famous malware called Black Mamba, which is completely leveraging the artificial intelligence. So it attacks, it knows when to stay dormant, when to be active, based on the artificial intelligence. Next. So let me quickly skip to digital evidence. Another 3 minutes, I will complete. Yeah. Next. 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 Yeah. So digital forensics, the expectations from digital forensics, recover deleted files, find out what external devices were attached. You insert the pen drive, copy the data from your professor. Okay. Unlike the traditional theft, A as an object, B steals it. So now A doesn't have it, only B has it. Whereas in data theft, what happens? A has it, B steals it, A also has it, B also has it, the data. So how do you deal with such situation? Find out what external devices were attached. You can do a registry analysis to identify what all the digital storage devices were attached to this machine. Determine what computer programs were run, whether the accused person was running any betting software. Recover what web pages users have used. Determine what file services were used. Next, 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 next. So there are best practices that are available in India and worldwide. One is the CPA standard operating procedure for cybercrime investigation. DSCI, my own organization, we were the first to release the cybercrime investigation manual. CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, India, they have created a best practice for handling digital devices. Because these SOP documents will help you a lot in your career. Once you start dealing with the cases, you need to be aware about the standard operating procedures. How exactly? So if you are playing the role of defense, how do you identify the mistakes committed by the prosecution? Or if you are playing the role of prosecution, how do you identify the mishandling or the crime, whatever the crime that was committed? How do you prove that? How do you? Digital forensics is nothing but you are trying to recreate. Okay. If you are playing the role of prosecution, how do you establish in the court that the accused person has committed the crime? Okay. And the third role, which I can think of, is if you become judge. Okay. How do you listen to prosecutor and judiciary and decide based on the merit of the case and based on your technical understanding? So I think in the interest of time, although I had a lot of material to discuss, so in the interest of time, I think let me next slide, please. I think since the topic on cybersecurity I covered, I think this is a slide on digital forensics, how AI can help digital forensics. See, digital forensics, what happens, gone are those days when I started digital forensics, I used to analyze the hard drive, which the hard drive size was 2.1 GB. I still have that hard drive with me. 2.1 GB was the hard drive which had the Windows operating system in it. Sorry, DOS operating system. MS-DOS operating system was there, or Windows 3.1 was there. But now the minimum size of the hard drive that we receive in our laboratory is 1 terabyte. So we need to analyze the terabytes of data. So artificial intelligence can be used to leverage the data garbage. How do you find the needle from a of stack? That can be done by leveraging artificial intelligence. Image and video analysis. You are seeing the motion sensor cameras are there. Those days the storage was very difficult because it used to record 24/7. Today our ATM machines will go for a dormant state. It will not record. It will stop the recording. Once there is a motion, then it gets activated. Okay, artificial intelligence can be used in image and video analysis also, and most importantly, predictive forensics. Okay, we are still struggling with forensics. There is a new field called predictive forensics, which should learn from the past investigation. The data sets that are given, that are fed to the way AI model is the past investigation. Based on the past investigation, it will predict the future cybersecurity breach incidents. I think in the interest of time, let me pause here. If you have any queries, one or two queries we will take and we'll break. Any questions if you have? Yeah, please. Can someone else put the mic, please?
Sir, where do we draw the line? Now the case of Arvind Kejriwal is going on. So the Home Minister wants to open his iPhones and his iPads. But the Chief Minister of Delhi is telling it is against the privacy to open my iPhone and read my WhatsApp chats and open my laptop. But the Ministry of Home Affairs is telling you are involved in the crime of alcohol trade.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where do we draw the line?
Yeah, got it. See, this is in the court. This is in the court whether police should see the background is Apple versus SBI. If you read that case, Apple versus SBI, where there was a shootout in San Bernardino. So what happened there? The SBI seized Apple 5C computer, mobile phone, which was pattern locked. So then FBI requests the Apple to provide backdoor because it was a criminal investigation and nation important. Nation important is it was a blast case. So then the court asked Apple to check if they can provide backdoor, and Apple said we will not be able to do it. And then FBI used private vendor, the tool developer, and the tool developer was a mobile forensic tool developer. He was able to bypass it. Okay. So now the question in India is whether police should compel. See, if there is a verdict, if there is a standard operating procedure submitted by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which indicates that if the device is encrypted with a password, if the device is encrypted with biometric encryption, so then he cannot be compelled. Okay, if that is the verdict, then every criminal will start using the device with biometric encryption. Okay, so it's a case to case basis. We are also curious to know how the courts would look at this situation where the user privacy is also preserved. It's like a balancing the criminal investigation and the user privacy. Okay. So what I feel is there should be some checks and balances. I am not agreeing to the fact that okay, it's a password protected. Once it is password protected, case closed. Let's all go home. I don't agree to that. There should be checks and balances. Like in such situation, instead of compelling or forcing the device owner, court can intervene and it can be conditional permission can be given where in the presence of accused person, the device can be opened. In the presence of punch witness, the master proceedings can be drawn and the data can be, it's like an amicable way of balancing the user privacy and criminal investigation. But we have to see how the Ram Ramaswamy and others versus Union of India case will progress. This will answer your question. The court will deliver. Yeah. No other questions? I think I exhausted. We are exhausted.
Don't mind. I'll just make it around. I'm sure there would be many other questions. I request all of you who would like to engage with our speaker just now to write down your questions and pass it on to one of us. During the lunchtime, we will pass them on to him and probably try to respond. I request him to stay on for a little longer after this. I'm sorry we organized this, I think, a little too badly, in the sense we should not have had so many good speakers, cramming them all together, two of them before lunch and one more, the speaker after lunch is also here. We apologize for that. Perhaps when we organize another event with you or with somebody else, we will factor this, give the resource person sufficient time and see that he answers all your questions. Please be here, sir. Vote of thanks, and we have a
I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. K. Venkatesh Murthy, Senior Director of the Data Security Council of India, for his insightful talk on the topic cybersecurity and digital forensics in the age of artificial intelligence. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us today. Your contributions has enshrined our understanding and inspired us to navigate the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity with confidence and resilience. As we come to the end of this enlightening session, I would like to invite Ms. Falguni from 2nd BBA LLB to join us on the stage for vote of.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As we draw the curtains on this enlightening session on cybersecurity and digital forensics in the age of AI, delivered by our distinguished speaker, Mr. Venkatesh Murthy, a Senior Director at Data Security Council of India. His immense knowledge in the field of cybersecurity and digital forensics was crystal throughout the session. It is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks at the summit of this enlightening session. Sir, your thoughts and analysis have not only enlightened our students and faculty, but also inspired us to integrate a more rigorous cybersecurity practices in both our personal and professional lives. Now, I request our professor, Ms. Siddhi Suman, to hand over a memento to Mr. Venkatesh Murthy to express a deep sense of gratitude on behalf of KLE Law College. Sir, please. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. I would also like to thank the audience for their participation and patience. Thank you, one and all.
Okay, so it's time for a well-deserved lunch break, right? We will resume our session promptly after lunch. Students and delegates coming from different universities, the lunch is provided at the canteen. Our escort team will escort you there. Students from KLE, I kindly want you to resume and sit back till the dignitaries and students and delegates from other universities leave. Kindly, thank you and enjoy your lunch.